I don't think there'll ever be another Black Panther film. Just don't think so. It's just, no, I don't see it. I think Black Panther, Shuri's Black Panther, will appear in other things. I think Wakanda will be referenced and probably be the focal point for other things in other films. But I don't think there will be another Black Panther-centric film. Maybe, possibly forever. What's good, everybody? Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be talking about Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. I did get to go see it this weekend, and I do have a whole lot that I want to say about it. So this is your spoiler warning right off the top. I'm going to be talking about 3 different things in this review. First, I'm going to talk about the movie in great detail, so if you haven't seen it, this is your warning. I'm going to be talking about the scenes and the things that happened that I liked the most. Second, I'm going to talk about the overall messaging of the movie, which is, in my opinion, kind of a faith-based message. Not necessarily Christian, but still it had to do with faith. I picked up on it. I really liked the way it was executed for the most part. And then 3, I'm going to talk about the wild-ass takes that people have about this movie, and I don't even think they watched it. So if you like that type of content, please subscribe to the channel. Drop comments, let us know how you felt about Black Panther. What were your favorite parts? Did you catch the faith-based messaging? Do you see these wild takes that people are having about the movie out here on the interwebs? And what are your thoughts on those as well? Let's get to it, y'all. The movie is an 8 out of 10 on my scale. You can check the description to see my numbers, but it is, in my opinion, high-level cinema. So I want to go back in another video and kind of revise my thoughts, because I look at my score for Thor, Love and Thunder, and I did score that one pretty high too. These 2 movies, MCU movies, are on 2 different scales. The tone and the subject matter make it just very different things. So Black Panther 2, top level cinema. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. I really enjoyed it. And let's talk about the things that I like so much. Angela Bassett as the Queen was amazing. Everything she did in this movie was powerful. And the most powerful things occurred as soon as she showed up on the screen. I want to talk specifically about the United Nations scene. If you are a person who knows politics, you saw that scene and you had a smile on the inside, because we know how governments work. They do the worst things. They conduct themselves in the worst ways. So they were publicly scolding or trying to point a finger at Wakanda as a nation and down talk that nation, only for Wakanda to foil their plans on stealing vibranium. It was so good. And the way that she delivered every line, her presentation in those moments were all set up to be intimidating and to be confident and to just show force without being forceful. And it came across so well. You could tell that she, like Angela Bassett, toned up for that shot of her standing up, and you could see, you know, her traps, you could see her shoulders and biceps. Not like she was a bodybuilder, but it was impressive to see she was physically fit and towered over the other nations as they looked at her with their disdain. It's like, yo, man, very, very good stuff. And it's even reinforced in another line in the movie when you have, I think it's Martin Short is the actor's name, and he's called the favorite colonizer. He has a line in the movie much later on. He says, like, can you imagine what we, the United States, would be doing if we were the only country in the world with vibranium? And it's like, yes, that notion was put out in the very first scene with Angela Bassett at that United Nations meeting. I enjoyed it. It was perfectly placed and very well performed. I enjoyed it. Next big moment from Angela Bassett that I feel like, yo, it's the scene that made the movie, was the scene between Angela Bassett and Denai Guerrero after Denai lost Shuri at the bridge scene. You know, Shuri volunteers to go with Namor, who we'll talk about all that in a second. But you get back to Wakanda and you get Angela Bassett as the Queen delivering that powerful line from the trailer, that line of, I've given everything, you know, my entire family is gone. And you know, you hear that in the trailer and you didn't think, I know I didn't think that Shuri would be gone at that point, but it surely did seem like all the emotion that was needed to be tapped into was very strongly tapped into and delivered at a perfect time. And it really broke Denai Guerrero's character, and she did a very good job throughout the movie, but especially in that part, like displaying her brokenness, showing her remorse and her yearning to continue fulfilling her duty as Dora Milaje. So I was cool with that scene. That scene was a very good scene. And Angela Bassett, man, after I watched that scene, I took in my notes like, hey, she's killing it this movie. This is the best performance in the film, hands down. Talking about the Atlanteans, and they're not Atlanteans, they are, I don't know what to call them actually, now that I think about it. But talking about Talokan and Namor and his people and their whole way of doing things, I really, really felt the way that they introduced these characters, not just in this movie, but in their opening scene. The opening scene of them infiltrating the little ocean base and doing the mermaid song that kind of messed with the heads of the workers and had people jumping to their deaths. And it was very graphically violent when they got onto the platform and started, tearing people up. I'm like, yo, these people are incredibly intimidating. This was almost shot like a horror. The fact that the helicopter was moving forward and then you can see it, the momentum just stop and then start to swirl around, and you don't get a clear picture of Namor, although those people who've been following the movie long enough and we see the marketing, we know it's probably him doing this. It was something else to see and just watch it all come together in that first opening scene. I remember watching it and thinking to myself, these guys have a very intimidating introduction. Probably the most intimidating introduction that we've ever seen to an entire group of people. Never have we seen people in the MCU get, like a group, get introduced in such a strong, fear-inducing, intimidating type way. That's what I came away with from the introduction of Namor's people. Namor himself, oh my God. So I'm a history teacher, right? And I just finished with my world geography students talking about the Aztecs, Incans, Mayas, and seeing a lot of the imagery that they use with the ancient backstory of Namor. It's like, man, this was well done. It's so true to everything that we know about history, with the fact that the Spanish came in with conquistadors and started pushing people off their land and enslaving people. And then you have Namor age slower, so time progresses faster, and he comes out, he's still a boy, but now it's full-blown colonization of Central America, South America, Latin America in general. And it's just so well done to where, like, you see all the seeds being planted and why he has the mindset that he has. Again, the homage given to all the different Native American tribes from that region. It's like, man, it was so well done. I have a student actually that is from Honduras, and like, he watched the movie before me because he works at a theater. I'm gonna get with him. Hopefully, maybe we could get him on camera, and just, I know there had to be a sense of pride. Anytime you see your people be represented so well and roots be tapped into so well, I'm like, yo, I know you felt pride. He didn't hit me back yet, but I'm hoping that maybe we and him could sit down and talk about it, because that is a topic that I'm sure is not lost on many people of that background when they watch this movie. It was great stuff to see it all come together and all be meaningful using real life history. Sticking on the topic of Namor and the way he was fleshed out, I really enjoyed the way that the city came together. Like, I was wondering, how will they do Atlantis? I understand that they changed the name from Atlantis and Atlanteans. We really didn't get a name for Namor's people, but I understand the way they did it. I like the way they did it. It's very respectful. They even incorporated the dragons. There was the new Rockstars video that talked about, maybe there'll be a connection to dragons. Definitely a connection to dragons there, with the headdress, with all the different imagery that was used in the flashbacks and the backstories and in the cave paintings. Great stuff, great stuff. But talking about Namor and his story coming together in this movie, it was handled well. I do feel like overall it kind of weighed the movie down a bit because there was so much to set up, but it was still set up very, very well, and I really, really enjoyed it. Still on that topic of Atlantis and the city of Talokan, it's Talokan now. I really like how they presented it as, with the underwater effects, and he brought the sun to his people so they could live like normal people, but underwater. Man, it was so good the way that they fleshed that city out, its mythology, and the fact that they might actually have a role to play coming out of this movie is incredible. And knowing that they live in a place and inhabit a place now that is there with its own culture, its own society, its own values. Just so much world building happened, just taking that brief trip to the city and hearing that backstory. Man, it's not enough good things that I can say about it, because I think it's very impressive to incorporate such a big part of a universe into a movie that is not even his movie. So I imagine if he ever gets his own movie or gets to appear in other films, it'll be a lot of rich history to tap into and talk about, like the city advancing over time. So very, very impressed with it. There is one thing though, there's one thing that really made me laugh really hard. So I have a friend who also posted it was a picture, and he said, and I'm gonna post the picture right now, but it was a picture and he said, this is a Black Panther spoiler out of context. So I looked at this picture and I was like, yo, how could that be a spoiler out of context? Like, I don't see the connection at all. And then I got to the scene where everyone in the city did this and kept doing this. And like, that is their Wakanda Forever pose. Like, Wakanda Forever is here and theirs is, and I'm like, Kamehameha. Let's go, boy. I'm a Dragon Ball fan, so I smiled so big in the theater. And the people I was with, also Dragon Ball fans, they didn't see this, but I showed it to him at dinner later, and I was like, yo, do you get this? And he's like, bruh, I thought it when I was in the theater. I just didn't say nothing. His wife felt the same way. It's like, everyone who's seen DBZ, you see this, and you're thinking, hey, you finna hit him with it. So that was cool. That was a cool little out of context reference, and that was a cool moment. I appreciate my boy for throwing that up on Facebook before I saw the movie. It was a nice little out of context nugget. Talking as highly about the movie as I have, I do have to say, criticism-wise, the pace, it felt long. It really felt long. But then when you think about everything that this movie had to do, it had to, one, establish the fact that Chadwick is gone, and they did it in a respectful way, in a way that made enough sense that we could just roll with it, as well as introduce Namor, introduce Talokan, make a conflict between these two nations, involve the outside players like Agent Ross and his wife, who is also connected to the Falcon and Winter Soldier and all that stuff, and wrap it all up at the end is impressive to do, but it's a lot to do too. So the pace, in my opinion, is the part that suffered the worst. All the action, Ryan Coogler normally does like some incredible fight scenes. I didn't see one this time that was truly transformative and it like really caught my attention. Like, yo, they're really doing something crazy here. I didn't see it in this movie. It was a little bit more standard in the way of the action. I feel like they kind of tried to push it in the final action scene with the wall fighting of the Dora Milaje versus Namor's people as they climbed up, and then Shuri's Black Panther like swung from side to side. I feel like they tried to push the envelope of stunt work and practical effects and just doing everything they could to make that fight scene impressive. But it just felt like standard comic book movie stuff, because it's just hard for that stuff to really be impressive at this point. It's gonna be a whole bunch of CGI flipping and stuff flying in places. And that's the only part of the movie where the movie like didn't shine and just felt regular. Every other thing that I saw throughout the movie felt heartfelt and deep and just really, really well done. This movie does pay enough tribute to Chad, in my opinion. I feel like it does. And it does feel like while they had to move the story forward, they also felt it necessary to pause and honor the man Chadwick Boseman and the character that he played. And they even did some things, and I'm not gonna spoil that part. Well, I can, this is a spoiler review. But they even did things to kind of ensure that there will be another actor to play a character named T'Challa by introducing the son from Nakia and all that stuff. So all that stuff was cool, man. The movie was very good and very well done. But there was a deeper message, and that's gonna bring me to my second topic here in the video, which is the message about faith that was present here. So, and this also kind of links to the wild stuff that people say about these movies, but let's focus on the message first. So there is spirituality connected to Black Panther. I feel like people were so swept up in the first one that they didn't notice how much they said praise Bast or glory to, I think M'Baku says, Glory to Hanuman. It's like there are other religions out there that are not Christian. In the MCU, these gods play a role in the greater story. If you watch Moon Knight, there's Khonshu and the whole Egyptian pantheon. Like there's things at play that's not just Christianity. But in my opinion, to a certain extent, don't misinterpret, but to a certain extent, faith is faith. You believe in a greater power. We may disagree on what that power is, but you believe in something. Shuri struggled this movie with believing and accepting and embracing her faith. And it's over at least 3 times I saw it present. First time was at the very beginnings of the movie where she was talking with her mom and her mom was getting her to like go through the grieving process and let go. And the mom spoke, the queen spoke about, you know, your brother was there and his hand was on my shoulder and he was moving me forward. And it's like, she was unwilling to accept that. Then you see it a few other times present. You know, she takes the heart-shaped herb that she creates, which is in line with the comics and makes enough sense that she's smart enough to do it. But she takes the heart-shaped herb, she goes to the ancestral plane, admits that she didn't think that it was even real. She sees Killmonger and we get Ryan Coogler keeping his tradition of making Michael B. Jordan appear in every movie he does. And then you get the actual like real fight of faith, in my opinion, was the scene between Shuri and M'Baku when M'Baku was trying to implore her to, hey, like maybe we just defeat him, but not kill him because killing him might be too much. And Shuri is on the path of being vengeance and wanting revenge. And she's fighting the faith that they've tried to instill in her, all the good lessons that they've tried to teach her, she's trying to fight against in those moments. And I just feel like at the end of the movie, when the final decision is made and she spares Namor's life, even though she could have taken him out, it's, to me, a good overall message. The idea that, hey man, faith is real, regardless of how you try to label it or what category it falls under, Christian, Hinduism, or this or that, or animism, or whatever, polytheism, all that stuff aside, it makes sense to believe in something. And she actually experienced it herself, like hearing the voice of her mother, probably seeing a vision of her mother telling her, like, no, show him who you are. Like, you are better than what your earthly desires want, because we've always called you to be more. It's what I took away from that scene. And I feel like that's an underlying message of the movie that might get lost. Don't let it, let me know what you think. I hope that people don't just like gloss over that point, because I feel like that was a big point and it was fairly well executed. It came across very clearly to me, and I wasn't going in there looking for that. This is Black Panther, I wasn't looking for that. But moving on to my last section of the video, talking about the wild ass comments that people make about movies. And I feel like it's comments that people make and they haven't even really watched. So one of the things that I saw before the movie even came out, so this person obviously didn't watch, but there was a woman and she was like, white folks shouldn't even go see Black Panther. You should wait a week and let us enjoy it for ourselves. Anybody can cause problems in a theater. It's not just white, it's not just black. It's like, why would you say that? Like, white people shouldn't see it. We need this to make all the money so they continue to make them. Like, what are you talking about, man? Stuff like that makes no sense to me. There was a guy, and I'm gonna probably throw his words up, but I won't actually put his name because I dislike him so much. He throwed up a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter talking about the movie is anti-men, it hates men, it's super liberal, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And I wondered to myself, like, dog, are you even watching the movie? Like, people who would say, oh, this movie is anti-men and it's against the patriarchy. Bruh, do you not realize Namor is a king? He is a man and he is in charge at the very top of his entire kingdom, the most powerful kingdom on the earth at this time. It's a man. Now let me pause you there, because again, this is a spoiler review. Also, second, I would say, because I think Namor and Talokan is more powerful than Wakanda, just because they got that advantage with the water, man. It was crazy in the movie. But Wakanda, most powerful nation on land. At the end of the movie, it's ran by M'Baku. He is a man. He is a king. who's opening up the challenge to anybody who wants to challenge him for the throne, while Shuri will continue to play the role of the protector. It's like, what? What? Anti-men? Are you serious? One of the things that this guy said, and again, I won't include his name, but one of the things this guy said that was so funny to me is that this movie hates America, and he calls it racial idolatry. And it's like, obviously you don't see the similarities between the plight of most black and brown people, because that was the thing that kind of showed itself in the ending of the movie, not to get into every single scene. But hates America, bruh. When they had trouble, the first thing they did was went to a US government official, and he worked with them. And he himself admitted and acknowledged, again, is a line that I mentioned before, like, can you imagine what would America be doing if we had vibranium and no one else? People like him, and there are others, but people like him, to me, really make me think you can't criticize America or talk about America's flaws to some people. Like, some people feel like if you have any criticism to make of the country, then it's blasphemy. And those people, I guess I want to say, like, worship at the altar of American flags, and like worship at the altar of patriotism, and country is king in their life. And it should not be Christian or not, or conservative or not. I don't know. That type of talk makes no sense to me. And I don't see how they got that idea from this movie at all. It's just honest about politics. Wild ass comments aside, I hope that most people find something good to say about the film, because I think the film was well done. I normally default to E-Man because I like E-Man's movie reviews so much, and he may not be the godfather of the Recast T'Challa movement, but he was the most vocal proponent and the guy that I followed the most when it came to recasting and the production of the film and things like that. And I haven't heard his thoughts yet. I didn't want his thoughts to mess with my thoughts. So I'll go and I'll check out a bunch of his videos, and I suggest you do the same. But my thought about him and the recast movement is, now I kind of feel, I feel why they wanted it originally. You don't get many positive black male role models. You just don't have it. So if you want to hold on to that. Let's recast and let's keep it going. Marvel made the decision not to do that. I respect Kevin Feige when he said it was too soon. Like, I feel that. The emotions that the cast tapped into for this movie and all the grieving scenes, it's easy, but it's hard. And the reason why it's easy is because they really felt those emotions for Chadwick and the fact that Chadwick was not there. So it's easy to tap into that. But it's hard because you're tapping into that. You're actually tapping into real life grief. And you're really mourning a friend, a coworker, a person who really set the tone for the entire first film. The idea that people would speak with an accent, Chadwick Boseman went, studied, and picked out the accent and used it for 18 hours a day while filming. And it's like, he was the standard. And as a character, you don't have many black men who are the standard in real life as well as on film with T'Challa. When Killmonger spoke about T'Challa in this movie, he said he was too noble. Did you hear that? His biggest flaw was that he was too noble. Like, as black men, we don't have many of those characters. So I understand the need and the urge and the desire to say, hey, recast T'Challa, let's get another person in that role, and let's keep that nobleness, good guy, super smart, super rich, king, black man image. Let's keep it going. But they found a backdoor way to do that. And we already know the roadmap. If you don't, I'll give you a little quick one. We have the next Avengers movie is gonna be, I think, Kang Dynasty. And then the next one after that is gonna be, I think it's Secret Wars. And then I'm imagining, this is just my imagining, but the next one after that, so this is years now, it's probably gonna be Young Avengers, and it's probably gonna be a young black male actor to take on the new T'Challa role, like the son of T'Challa. So, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I don't think there'll ever be another Black Panther film. I just don't think so. It's just, I don't see it. I think Black Panther, Shuri's Black Panther, will appear in other things. I think Wakanda will be referenced and probably be the focal point for other things in other films. But I don't think there will be another Black Panther centric film, maybe possibly forever. There may not be another one. If the MCU keeps going, they may not ever do a singular Black Panther again. It might just be, hey, Black Panther shows up. We had Shuri for a while, and then we get Young Avengers and T'Challa. We're back. We got a new T'Challa, and we just gonna keep it moving. We know what Wakanda is. You got 2 movies. You got a whole bunch of cameos in Infinity War and in Endgame and in here and in there. So yeah, I think that's how it's gonna be. You're gonna continue to see Wakanda be referenced. You're gonna continue to see Black Panther, whether it's Shuri or young T'Challa, show up. But I don't think you're ever gonna see another full-blown Black Panther movie, which is sad. That's just where I'm at right now. Anyway, y'all, that's where I'm gonna leave it. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I will be doing another video just talking about Black Panther 2 versus everything else in the MCU. Really post Endgame, because I feel like Infinity War and Endgame changed the game for Marvel, and this is their biggest, to me, biggest and closest rebound. Or like they've got as close to level of filmmaking that they've got in those 2 with this. I don't feel like many other things compare, but we will compare on a separate film, on a separate video. So stick around for that. And that's all I have. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, go watch something good.